Welcome back to another Service Management Leadership Podcast. Great guest, great topic today. Alexander Golev joins us. He's a Microsoft licensing expert. He's been on the show a few times. Alexander, how's it going?
Thank you, Jeffrey, for having me here again. Well, it's going pretty well. It's 20 minutes past 10 p.m. where I am. So it's fun talking to you at this late hour.
Well, if you bring that up, why don't you tell everybody why we're recording this late at night for you?
Well, I've just celebrated 6 years of my marriage. Great. I think it's a great milestone. We didn't celebrate 5 years because we were locked down. So this was almost our second time out since we were let out of jail in the UK.
Yes. It's one of those times that we hope passes quickly and we could tell our grandkids about. And so let's jump straight into it. Microsoft has come out with a new product, so to speak, a service product called Windows 365 or W365. First of all, what is that?
It's just your laptop in the cloud. So what you are used to having on your laptop or on your desktop, your normal client operating system, which you then run somewhere in the cloud, and then you stream it to any other device, phone, iPad, laptop without Windows, laptop with Windows. I mean, why not a television? So that's what it is, and the beauty of it is that it's persistent, so it never shuts down. All your settings, all your apps are always open. So you close your laptop at home, you were working with that streamed version of Windows, you go, you jump on the train, you open your iPad, you continue working at it, and then you close your iPad, you go to the office, you open your office desktop, and then which could be a thin terminal, not necessarily fully fledged computer. And you open again the same interface, you continue working there, and it's all stored in the cloud, it's all backed up in the cloud. So why not? I mean, I think it was going in that direction anyway, and there were a few other attempts. So even for Microsoft, it's not the latest offer. There was an Azure virtual desktop, which is a very, very similar offering, but a bit different technically.
So what my mind immediately races to all the possibilities. So maybe a move back towards thin clients for certain applications, where you don't need a full desktop or laptop, but the ability, most of us use more than one device, and this would allow us to have everything synced up super easily, in that you see it as a matter of convenience.
As long as you have a good connection. Obviously it requires you to have a good broadband or 5G, so you can't really run it on an old school modem. One of the beautiful things is that it's much more secure. So all these horror stories that we hear, that somebody from the Ministry of Defense or Department of Defense lost their laptop with all the secret documents on it, that's not going to happen. They lose a laptop, the perpetrators open it, and there's nothing.
Right.
It's not even a laptop, it's a Chromebook.
Yep.
with just a client that connects to Azure, and then you have to have all the smart cards and whatnot to actually get access to the data. The data is not on the laptop. That's another beautiful side of that solution. So I think there's a lot to think about.
There is, and that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast. It's new and it's emerging, and there will be people that come out and know exactly how to leverage this optimally. There will be people that come out and know exactly how to take advantage of it. No people will be people that don't. And so if companies are out there and they're thinking, hey, my life cycle, my laptop life cycles, we're trying to figure out the refresh cycles. How can companies and organizations, government agencies, how can they factor this into those cycles?
I think it's going, if they adopt it, if they adopt it. I'm just continuing my thoughts. It's a very new thing to me as well. I'm thinking about it almost every day when I have time, when I'm not developing my training course or anything like that. So I'm thinking about it every day. And There are more and more thoughts going in my head about it. So what I've just told you about that, you don't have to buy a full laptop to use it. Really, you can have a thin client. You can have a very thin laptop in terms of its hardware. It just needs to support streaming through just terminal services client or something like that. So your hardware refresh suddenly becomes easier.
Yes.
Simpler, and your client hardware suddenly becomes cheaper because you don't need to buy very powerful resource. Although, with all fairness, Windows 365 is not a cheap service. So I don't have prices right now, but I think if my memory permits, a reasonable sized machine, which is comparable to a laptop that I have, is about 40 British pounds a month, which is roughly 1.4. That's $56 a month. It's not cheap, to be honest. And at enterprise scale, multiplied by 100,000 devices, you get the idea. So it's not a cheap service. But then, what do you compare it to? If it costs you $600 a year, that's half of the price of a good laptop. And I'm comparing that with a good laptop, not a cheap laptop from, I don't know, from some garage shop that builds it from I don't know where they get those details from, those parts from. It can lead to lots of good and bad things. It depends on how you look at them.
Yeah, and so I was thinking, as you're rolling through that, the cost of a Microsoft Windows license and the software maintenance is roughly what, 100 a year US, roughly.
So there's string attached actually in licensing. So just for those who are considering any commercial options, it's not really that transparent. There are two offerings. One offering is transparent, which is called Microsoft 365 Business. Unfortunately, Microsoft 365 Business has a limitation of 300 users per organization. So you can't buy 301 or over that number. And that is transparent. The price includes everything, but it doesn't have enterprise-grade admin tools. It's all built in, it's all runs on Azure, and administration tools and security tools are limited. The second you want more users, the second you want more control, you want Intune, if you know what Intune is, you want better security tools, better administration, system administration abilities, then suddenly you need to, it stops being transparent. So you have a price of the Windows 365 machine, plus the enterprise flavor requires you to have Windows licenses as well.
Ooh.
That's the problem. So you have to have, so a user with Windows 365 Enterprise also needs at least Windows Pro assigned to them. Not Enterprise, could be Pro, but with the laptop, but at least that. And I might be wrong. I need to check. So to be honest, what I looked at that, if you read all the small prints, I would say it does require some sort of E3 or E5 subscription, to be honest, because you need other options as well, other 365 services. Then you get, and then when it comes to E3 or E5 subscription, that subscription still requires Windows Professional license. So you need Windows Professional, you need Windows E3, E5 or equivalent. So I'm deliberately not going into details because there may be different scenarios, trying to make it simple. So you need a laptop with a pre-installed operating system. You need a user subscription for just normal Windows Enterprise, and only then you can add on top Windows 365 Enterprise. And then in addition to that, technically, it requires 4 Azure services, as far as I remember. But let's just stick to 4. It's not really relevant. It does require additional Azure subscriptions and additional Azure costs. Active Directory Premium, you have to pay for traffic, you have to have networking, you have to have Azure security, that sort of thing. And then suddenly it's not that cheap. And it's not a replacement, to complete replacement to Windows 10 Enterprise, which you have on premises. So remembering how Microsoft works, they might or they might not actually remove that requirement in the future. So let's watch this space. Microsoft are very, so if there's one thing Microsoft is very hesitant to touch, it's the sacred cow of Windows.
They don't want to mess it up. They don't want to mess it up.
It's a huge revenue stream. It's the classic product. It's what they started from. I mean, MS-DOS, but still.
Yeah.
And I think there's still Bill Gates behind the scenes pulling the strings and saying, "I'm not going to let you." It's what he did when Microsoft wanted to. In the Steve Ballmer's time, Microsoft wanted a few times to go more multi-platform. Develop Office for Linux. Always, there will be Bill Gates saying, "I'm not letting you kill my sacred cow of Windows."
Right.
So maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe that's why you still need to buy a laptop with a pre-installed Windows, and then you need to upgrade it to an enterprise. It's never going to be simplified. It's actually the most messed up product in terms of licensing, in the Microsoft licensing. Not Office, not even Dynamics. Dynamics is difficult enough, but the most messed up product is Windows client operating system.
Yep. And whenever I've done them, especially with M&A, mergers and acquisition and divestitures, when Windows gets to be difficult, people that have never been through that fun times, they don't know what they're missing, only because there's different tiers and different agreements that you're bought it on because you bought it over time. And so it's just a mess. So there's a couple things that I want to ask you on, just a couple. And so I think it's going to impact long-term how Microsoft looks at Teams and some of the other software, and it's going to look, it's just going to be packaged or leveraged in some regard. But the one thing that I thought was a real positive is that you don't ever have to worry about imaging a new laptop, because you get a new one, fine, just log into your old login. And so it does help with a lot of the labor costs and things of that nature as well, right?
Oh, I absolutely agree. So that's another cost reduction possibility here is you get rid of all the imaging costs. So Azure imaging is what you're going to get with this. As far as I can understand it, and I used to be a sysadmin and system integrator, it seems simpler than on premises.
Yeah,
life will tell, but I think it's going to be another potential cost reduction opportunity. So you really have to assess it from multiple points of view. What is more expensive, and then where you're saving? It's not. I don't think it's even one size fits all product. For instance, I like it. I'm not going to buy it. It's just too expensive for me. I can't justify using it because everything is backed up in a different way in my world, in my business. So I'm not really worried about losing my laptop either. It's pretty secure as well. So I might one day consider it if it either becomes cheaper or I just justify the cost.
So here's one thing I thought of when you were going through it. I could see a huge organization only using 300 of them for their most secure needed laptops or whatever. There's many ways to slice this that you could do so, or your people that use more than one device because they travel from city to city. This seems like a good avenue, right? I mean, you can handle it a lot of different ways.
There's no lower limit, so you're absolutely right. You can buy 5 of those.
Yeah.
For argument's sake, say there's Coca-Cola with whatever the number of employees they have, 500,000 worldwide.
Right.
I don't know. I'm making these numbers up right now, but I can probably imagine it's probably somewhere between 250,000 and 1 million people, and only 100 of them will require this product because it's not an enterprise product. Right. So there are no commitments. Why not? So it could be adopted in that manner. It could be first adopted by IT people or IT sec people or payroll people, something that requires higher level of security. Fortunately, people probably a couple of years ago started understanding that cloud is not that insecure. That actually sometimes integrated cloud solutions in a good cloud are more secure than on premises.
Yes, very
So
much.
that's already not something people are very much concerned about. Oh, it's going to be in the cloud. It's going to be open to all sorts of attacks. Well, is your on premises that secure? And then it drives adoption further. And it's not the first offer in this way. So Amazon have Windows virtual PCs. You can run them from Amazon. I know people who've been doing this for years already from Amazon since Amazon introduced it. Microsoft had Azure Virtual Desktop, which is a very similar offer. It's a bit different, but it's similar. What they did right now is they just simplified it. They made it. They tried to make it as simple as possible. And even if you look at licensing, I just draw a very dark picture of how difficult it is in the enterprise edition. But if you're a small business or if you want to try, it's a subscription. You buy 300 today. You need more tomorrow. You just split the licenses. You stop one subscription. You subscribe to an enterprise flavor. Obviously, before that you need to prepare, but you'll do that certainly. So where I was leading to is they made it simple. They made it simple to try. They actually made an offer of which I wasn't aware of until 3 days ago. There was a free trial almost for everyone, and then they had to stop it because of the overwhelming demand. Microsoft could not imagine the popularity of this service, so they rolled out this product, and suddenly it becomes it just sells like hot pies.
Oh my. And so I thought of two things. Think of like a hospital where they can get by with thin clients in every room, but a lot of them have full desktops. It'd be perfect for a thin client. But then I also thought of Microsoft could be working towards packaging that in the O365 in a similar way that Google does with their Chromebooks, right? Where everything's just pre-packaged and here you go. And so anyway, it's just interesting. And that's why I wanted to get your perspective on here, because it's going to open some possibilities that we haven't thought were possibilities before.
By the way, you've just given me this idea for the first time that we may be expecting some sort of Microsoft 365 E7, which will include Windows 365 in the license, in the cost of the subscription. I always advocate against bundles. But I'm just saying this might be a new bundle there, which will just include all the Microsoft flagship offerings in one.
Yep. And that way you take it with you, and so you sign into your account, and it loads all of your PowerPoint, Word docs, and Windows and it follows you wherever you go. And,
they make it very simple. Will they? Will they try and recall the qualified marketing? I think it's too complicated for this podcast, but the third-party providers, I'm not sure how that's going to affect them, because now Microsoft have this flagship offering. They'll probably want to push this out. Will they stop letting third-party providers renting out Windows 10 virtual machines? It's a very small club of those providers who are authorized. And I think that was for a reason. It's not every provider that is allowed to actually offer you a similar solution. So is Microsoft trying to pull everybody towards Microsoft? Then again, time will tell. It's a very difficult question. Like what you asked me before when we were discussing this podcast, is it going to drive adoption of Teams or vice versa? Teams will drive adoption of Windows 365. It's very difficult to tell. Only time will tell. I don't really see any obvious strings here right now. Microsoft may be testing the ground, but
I could see them offering more storage with it if you bundle. I could see them doing just like they did back when they were pushing everybody from on-prem enterprise Windows to 365. They bundled as much as they can. Same with moving workloads to the cloud. Let's bundle as much as we can. We'll incentivize you accordingly. That's the kind of stuff I see because I've seen it in the past.
Well, I can give you one scenario that sounds really reasonable here. So imagine there are companies that are hesitant now to go to Azure or to go to Azure full on. They may be testing their grounds. You know, they may have like a few dev test environments out there. For some reason, they may have Azure AD to connect some small Azure services, but they still hesitant. They are not ready for that leap into Azure. And they may be considering other providers. And then somebody, a decision maker, says, let's try Windows 10. And they, well, then again, you know, for argument's sake, someone like Coca-Cola or Unilever or Kraft Foods, or anything big, imagine that. They designate a group of 100 people, 200, 300 people, and they just start testing very slowly Windows 365 Business. Say they're not, I mean, these companies are all in Azure, but anyway, right. Say they're just testing the grounds. And then they see it's a good solution. They want more. They want more. What do they have to do? As we discussed before, as I said before, they need Azure services. They start consuming more Azure. Then the next question that arises is how are they going to connect it to on-premises service? Because that's going to be a bit perverted. Forgive me for this word. That you need to sit on premises, use a laptop or a thin client to connect to an Azure VM that will then, through the VPN, go back to your premises and connect to your service on premises. That kind of doesn't make sense. No. So then the next logical thought is, I need server resources in Azure. And there you go. It could be a fantastic door opener for Microsoft, a very, very, I would even say, a very good heart opener, you know, to open people's hearts towards Azure. So, you know, Azure is good. Let's consume more Azure.
Oh yeah. So
this, if you think that Microsoft does everything strategically, that may be the thought.
Yep, I'm with you. So as we close, you mentioned your training. I thank you for joining us, and I want to tee you up.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey.
Talk about your training and what you have going on and how can people get in touch with you and all that good stuff.
So for the training, so it's a free Microsoft license management training. I deliberately don't call it a Microsoft licensing training because I'm trying not to teach licensing, although licensing is about 80% of it anyway. And you may know, you may not know, as far as, well, I don't know myself, but I was told Microsoft stopped offering official Microsoft licensing certifications. So it's wild west out there now. So what we're going to do is we're going to certify people based on this training. We're going to give an exam. You will have to pass a very tough exam, and then we'll give you badges and certificates that will be authorized by my company. And we've been doing this for 20 plus years. So we know our stuff, and we're pretty confident. And you know, if we tell somebody is capable of managing Microsoft licenses, we think that they are. So will the community recognize these certificates? Time will tell. So that's the first thing. So we will offer a test. It's a very long training. There are 8 streams on YouTube. So how to get to them? I've said enough already. How to get to them? You need to type in your browser some expert, so SAM expert.tv. That's going to take you to our YouTube channel. It's a redirect. And on that YouTube channel, you will see straight away in the first row of videos, there's a Microsoft licensing training playlist. It's free, no strings attached. You can watch recordings. You can join anytime you want. Obviously, it's better live because you can then interact with me and with my partner, Daryl. And that's it. That's what we do. So that's where you can find us. We you know, from those videos there are links to our LinkedIn profiles. From those videos there are links to our website. If you want to do business with us, we are a consultancy. We're not a training agency. We're not trainers. We consult. We're not earning a single penny. Actually, it costs us to do this training. It's more of a PR stunt, to be honest. But I mean, if I can do PR and then teach 11,000 people. We have right now 11,000 registrants. It's a huge number. You know, the biggest crowd I've been in front of was 80,000 people. This is the second biggest. It's a huge crowd. And if we can teach them all, great. it's great. It's actually teaching people how to properly license Microsoft is a good thing. Microsoft doesn't need your charitable donations.
No.
It's a company that is doing pretty well. And if you learn how not to overpay for Microsoft licenses, that's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
That's what drives us. It's fun and it's a good thing to do.
And it's positive ROI for the client side, because whatever they spend in consulting engagement with you, or time spent on the videos, they gain more than that, and the ability to have renewals that are tighter and a little more use what you're paying for, what you're using, and use what you're paying for, and all that stuff. So Alexander, it's great having you back. Thank you for on short notice joining us and helping educate us on W365, because I do think as we push on towards the end of this year, we'll hear more and more discussion as we roll towards January. That's just my prediction. Things leak out in the dog days of summer. They pick up, a little bit of steam as we get closer to the end of the year. Then we see it full on, in January.
So mark my words, by the way, we haven't yet heard really big news from Microsoft. I don't know what that's going to be, but it's been too quiet.
It always is. It always is too quiet. Well, thank you for joining us, Alexander, and we'll have you on once again soon.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I mean, good luck with what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.